Let's see. What is the first award? Best steel coaster.
The first award. I'm just gonna do it in order of the poll. The first award was best steel coaster. First place was Raptor. Second place was Agoraphobia and Claustrophobia, and third place was Stampede.
Alright, so let's look at Raptor. Just at one. This is just obviously recreation of the inverted coaster Cedar Point, made by G Wiz and Where's
Walto.
Rock Barons, captained by Robbie 92. Yeah. Let me get rid of these guests. Okay. I mean, the thing that really stood out to me with this is some of the new objects and what they did to kind of like make this park more interesting than just, a recreation of a somewhat standard coaster. Like, they added these shadows. If you look, there's shadows on some of the trees and some of the buildings, which is really cool. And then they also added these new sort of like dirt objects.
Yeah.
Liners. And then there's also some cool hacks with the Sky Ride. And then there's the Cedar Downs, which I don't know if I've ever seen that before. It actually rotates and stuff. So that's very cool. But I mean, as far as the layout goes, probably about as good as you can get.
As the layout goes, I think in a lot of recreations and a lot of real rides, there's a lot more straight track than what we realize. But for some reason, that's not translated that much into RCT. Which, I mean,
the second half of Raptor is very straight. Like, especially like you go out of the drop from the mid-course brake line, then you go into a very straight.
Yeah.
Track.
Like the out of the 0G into the there's a very long amount of straight track into the Cobra. Hey, Liam. Hey, hello. We have a new member. Well, actually, two new members watching. One of them is Liam, and the other one is Big Shooter Gill. Possibly one of the best rookies of the year, and they are happy in the MVP. How are you guys?
And then one problem I had with this layout was the funnel helix. Actually,
The Fana Helix looks really nice. It's really tight.
it looked nice, but I wish they would have kind of spaced it a little bit better. I mean, the helix literally goes on top of the queue. Which, I mean, I guess that's, gonna happen, but they could add at least one more piece of straight track so that it would have spaced out a little bit more. So you didn't have that. But other than that, I mean, let's say it's pretty spectacular. The stations, I mean, immaculate. I don't know if I've ever seen a station like this before. You have all like the bracing on the path and the walk up. I mean, this is exactly how it is. You like walk right on the brake run. You have the elevator there at the backstage.
Oh yeah. There's definitely a lot of really nice realistic details. Like and it's definitely scaled correctly. Like the elevator, the handicap elevator was really nice.
Yes, Liam, the broadcast should be enabled. Hopefully the music doesn't get all copyrighted. I'm trying to keep it quiet so it doesn't. I just turned it down a little bit more actually, but I'm trying to keep it quiet so it doesn't copyright.
Yeah, I just turned off the music, for example, because of that.
So hopefully it's not an issue. I actually do have my last two streams saved, I guess. The one 2 weeks ago, actually, probably going to delete pretty soon if it hasn't already. But the one from last week is still up. The one from last week I reviewed Northology, which just went bronze actually. So if you want to check that out, should be up. All right, but anyways, continuing on this, basically, really good layout, very well done. Spawns are awesome.
All the elements are placed really well.
Yeah, this pacing is very good. Supports are very good, which is something that a lot of people kind of feel like struggle with is supports. And the supports are basically placed exactly how they would be. And they do a lot of things to kind of like make these areas be a little bit more boring. Like some of these, they do the shadows and they do all these different textures and a lot of attention to details that a lot of people probably ignore normally. Yeah.
I was talking,
as all these parks are. So
I was talking to Rob right after this was released, and he said that the two builders that worked on this apparently like hardly communicated throughout the entire thing. Like they knew exactly what they were building that well, and that's something that you can definitely see in this park because I can't really tell really what is G's and what is Walso's. I can a little bit, but not.
From what I've heard from talking to G-Wiz, he said that he did most of the backstage areas, for like the buffet and like right over here. And then some of the backstage stuff and the hacks, obviously, and the layout and the coaster. And then Walto did the midway, and some of the more front facades and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
Actually, both of these players have attempted Cedar Point recreations in the past.
That was basically it was really obvious who built this like right whenever it was released because of the fact that both of them did do Cedar Point. Both of them attempted Cedar Point. Both of them at least did this area before. Just gonna answer Chorkio right now. I think the big difference between something like this and Starpoint is that the way everything is juxtaposed in this feels a lot more real than Starpoint does. Starpoint, a lot of the paths are really closed off and everything, where it wouldn't necessarily be that closed off in real life. Like I know that Cedar Point's probably an extreme example of this because of how big the capacity of Cedar Point is and everything. But if you look at how open this path is, it's really, really, really realistic. And all the path details and everything. I'm not counting the shadows. But like the brown squares and everything like that. And I feel like
that's hard.
I feel like there's a very, very few amount of people that can actually pull realism off like that. G-Wiz and also, of course, can. I'd probably put Disney Hand under here as well in the same boat that can pull off realism to that extent. And it's something that I honestly have a major complaint with most realistic stuff, is that it just doesn't feel realistic. It feels like...
I think with the recreations, I feel like it might be hard for a lot of people who don't know coasters really, really well. Like for somebody who's not a coaster fanatic, it's a lot of times hard for them to appreciate the realism recreations because like they're like, oh, it's a boring coaster in a boring park or a boring area of a park, I guess.
The thing is that there's really not. The thing I find about a lot of the way we build realism is that we almost romanticize it, because we're not showing as much of the flaws and everything.
Yeah, a lot of people,
RFP is another example. Midnight Runner is, if finished, would be one of my favorite designs ever. And
I think one of the things builders do to try to like make their parks more appealing is change like the path textures. Like here they do it a little bit with the bricks, but I mean in top realistic parks like Starpoint or Thorpe or stuff like that. They do a lot of different path variations, which isn't really realistic. Usually paths are just the same concrete all over the place, but
Yeah.
just to make it more appealing. Because obviously in a real park, you're looking from a peep view, and in RCT, you're looking from an isometric view. So it's a very different viewpoint on the same thing. And
Yeah.
trying to make it more appealing for a different viewpoint is
I
something that's really
definitely feel like in Starpoint, Pack was caring more about appealing to the viewer than necessarily the guest.
okay. We're gonna move on.
Yeah.
Best wooden coaster. Which
Best wooden coaster is Tomahawk versus Revolver in Calico Canyon. And while we're there, how about we do this? Considering we did Raptor, and Raptor I think won like another award or something, we could just skip over that because we already reviewed Raptor. Like best chemistry, we already talked about that, everything like that. So we're just gonna skip over that one and let's go to Calico Canyon and talk about some of the awards it won.
I think this was also nominated for best idea for some of the hack rides, but let's just talk about the coaster for now. This is obviously an RMC. It hasn't really been done successfully in RCT before. I think this is probably the best attempt at it.
This is definitely the best looking RMC. Like I think the track type is perfect compared to what most people do, which is they just do B&M the entire time, but it's really closer to that.
This was a very smart decision, and the layout's not super realistic, but I mean, neither is the park, so I mean, who cares?
I can actually see. I can see RMC doing something like this because
some of these, I think the first half's definitely more realistic than the second half. The second half with all these helixes kind of gets out of control, at least in my opinion.
a little bit, but I could see RMC doing this because of how it grinds in the landscape and everything.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, this is a dueling coaster.
Yeah, this is obviously a dueling coaster. So let's see whenever it takes off, and let's view that.
And of course, you know, it's a coaster build part because you have these 60-second, or I guess it's 40-second in this case, waiting time. So you have to wait forever for them to actually depart to the station.
And well, I mean that's just dispatch times. It's relatively normal in real life. It's just something that people overlook.
Or for the sake of having the coasters actually run a lot.
And I'm thinking is if you don't mess with dispatch times and you have like a block break section, you don't want your shit stuck at like a block break section that's in the middle of the ride. That's just stupid.
I think this coaster a lot of cool.
Yeah, it screamed fun. It didn't I don't think it really mattered necessarily about the architecture or anything like that. Because this was kind of like Asteroid Fields in the idea that it was a lot more about the rides rather than the atmosphere containing the rides.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with this compared to some of the other Heaven's Atlas parks is that it's not as visually appealing. There's some nice stuff in here, but some of this feels really rushed, like some of the foliage especially, and some of the color choices all kind of like the same tan. And I think there's an opportunity with the landscaping that they could have made it a lot more appealing, and that would have helped it immensely.
Yeah.
Finished well, looks good, but
I mean, like, how long do you actually look at architecture compared to a ride? Like, you don't. There's only a very few examples, probably the Ray being one of them, that you're gonna be like really staring at that architecture and just thinking, "Wow," you know. In a lot of other cases, these rides make a lot more of a difference. And like terms of, me looking at something and me enjoying something. Even though I'm not going to subjectively give this like a better score than
it's got a.
I wouldn't give this a better score than something like the park that I went against, which was Erlen Ben's Park Roberter. Simply because that one was executed better, but in terms of enjoyment, I actually enjoyed this one more.
A lot of really cool interaction, cool bridges, cool elements, good support.
GeForce, you know that this park was a spiritual successor to one made in Head-to-Head 5, right?
What park would that be?
Let me find that real quick. I'm trying to think of who was on that park. I think Dr. Dirt was maybe on that park. I don't know. It might not have been that. It might not have been the Hurricanes that made it though. Head 5.
Honestly,
No, it wasn't.
However, is these little hack rides like you have these parachute, or this isn't a parachute, super shot, which is really cool. And then you have a parachute ride, which doesn't run that often.
All right, I found it. Pueblo Canyon Boardwalk. I'm gonna put that in the description right here.
The skydiving plane. There's a ropes course, and then there's also a go-kart track, which is really cool. There's also a river rafting ride.
Wait, Ride 6 was supposed to Ride 6 built the coasters? I can see that because
Ride 6 built the layouts.
I can see Ride 6 building that because it reminds me of Mala, and that's the only reason why. Because huge landscaping duelers, okay, that's Ride 6. And also the park that I just put in the chat was also made by Ride 6. So it's basically Ride 6 had practice whenever he went and made this, definitely.
I definitely think the station is made by Ride 6 as well because it's definitely a different style than the other buildings in the park.
Oh yeah. It's less detailed, but it still has like that same feel. Let me find the other award that this one, and we could talk about that as well.
Nominated for best idea. I don't know if it won.
I think it's like best non-coaster ride or something like that. Let me find it real quick.
Oh, this tied for best idea with the Working Telescope and Asteroid Fields. Best idea being this parachute drop.
Yes, that
was very cool. There's like this plane ride that went up and then flew around kind of, and then it dropped off actually a little chairlift, and it would land.
Yes. That was fantastic.
I don't know if I can get it to show it running because it only happens like every couple minutes, but definitely something to check out if you download the park. Okay, let's look at the next award, which is Best Water Ride, which was tied between Rivers of Knowledge and World's Fair and Shipwreck Cove in Bermuda. Let's start at Rivers of Knowledge, I think. Actually, funny enough, I think these parks went up against each other. Rivers of Knowledge.
Yes. Yeah, they did. World's Fair and Bermuda went off against each other.
World's Fair being by Robbie, 92.
Sephiroth and Seb. No, Say, sorry. And the other one being Coco and the manual, and I cannot remember the other guy. But round 2.
This is the ride.
The ride is that pavilion right there, the one right at the bottom.
Yeah, it's actually inside of this pavilion.
Yeah, it's like all the other rides in this. It's inside a pavilion.
It's very dense, and then there's also like a dinosaur skeleton. I believe this is the dinosaur.
Yeah, that's a dino skeleton, definitely. One thing that people were criticizing this park for, which I thought was kind of bullshit, was there was like, wow, this is too dense. This is too dense, but at the same time, it's a World's Fair. It's supposed to be too dense, because think about it. A World's Fair isn't built in the same amount of area that an amusement park is. It's built like in 2 to 4 city blocks usually, or a little bit bigger than that. But in a lot of cases, it's built in a relatively small area, and they have to pack in a bunch of shit.
Yeah, the problems I have with this park were mostly due to its unfinishedness and the fact that I would also get air trappers, like I just did right there. I learned this from the tram system, which
Yeah. What happened? Did you get an air trapper or what?
yeah, an air trapper.
Okay.
Okay, we're back up.
Yep.
Basically, my thoughts on this park. Lots of great architecture. Definitely a cool idea. Lots of good execution. But my main problems were the unfinishedness. Kind of made me, I don't know. I have a hard time voting for an unfinished park against a finished park. Simply because I feel like one of the aspects of head-to-head is actually finishing your park. And
to me, it doesn't matter as much.
the builder said this was finished, but
because I found there to be way more content in this than there was in Bermuda.
And another main problem I had, which I kind of touched on earlier, was density is part of what makes it good, but at the same time, I'd almost rather it be spread out more so I could appreciate the individual buildings more and kind of enjoy it a little bit more than just seeing so many things at once on a screen. Some of these areas look really well, but then some areas are just like there's too many things almost. And I feel like for a head-to-head park, you have to manage.
I think this is one of those parks, just like with
density.
Raptor, where this is one of those parks, just like with Raptor, where you're supposed to appreciate it in the aspect of the guest, because the way a guest would see it would be far cooler than what we see in an isometric view. Because you're going underneath one of those multi-platform shopping buildings and everything, and you see these arches above you which people are walking on and everything. Like that building right there with the gold roof on top.
Gold roof.
Yeah, it's on the other side of the park.
Oh. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here. I mean, so many windows and peeps and whatnot.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff going on in here. Yeah, that building right there. Like, just being on the lower level of that and then looking up.
This also has a very cool centerpiece, I guess you could call it, the Eiffel Tower made by Sephiroth. And we got another air trapper, so apologize for that. This park is very janky. But
all right, I think we're done.
We'll move on to the next, that one that it tied with, which was
to the next, which is Bermuda.
I don't even, oh no, it's wrong one. My apologies. I don't even, where is it? I didn't even like see the water ride that was nominated. I saw the name on the nominations. I didn't even, nothing even came to mind memory out of that. But upon second look, it's actually the rapids ride that stretches in the back of the park, under the coaster Magnite. Features a very cool hack station, and it just kind of trails under the mountain. Some cool theming. Excuse me. Especially this plane. Some of the lava effects. The queue goes over it. Very cool.
Yeah. The layering with magnetite in the rapids is probably amongst the best stuff in the park because just the way like everything is and seeing everything with it, and especially the supports on magnetite in the lower levels, it's just really nice, really nicely done compared to other stuff.
Yeah. Personally, I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of this park.
I'm gonna be honest with you and say that I'm not.
It's definitely
Um,
deserving of the rating it got, I guess. I mean, I can't say it's
I won't.
perfect, but
I'm gonna say that it probably, in my eyes, I probably would have voted 75. But I
yeah.
mean, 83 isn't that far off, honestly. That's not really weird.
I think the real appeal of this is all the little things, like all these little scenes with all the boats and planes, and then you have some very cool hacked rides.
I wasn't
And
actually that big of a fan of just the classic Coco architecture and like the entrance of the park and everything. I wasn't the biggest fan of that compared
yeah,
to because I don't it felt like he was playing it safe a little bit.
yeah. And I think one thing that Coco kind of suffers within his architecture is that he builds it extremely quickly. So he kind of it almost looks kind of like lazy. I don't want to say lazy, but
It's
very quick.
yeah.
And he kind of doesn't really go back and fix it like I think he
I mean
could.
it's nice and it's atmospheric, but at the same time it feels a little bit more safe compared to the other parts of the park where
I don't know if I'm a big fan of the color schemes either. I mean, it's very colorful, but at the same time, it's like,
yeah, I would definitely like to see more cohesion just with the roofs. Like if you would have gave the roofs all like one or two colors instead of like five or six like you see right here, it would have blended in a lot better.
yeah, a lot of cool things again in this project. It kind of feels like a mishmash of ideas that
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
some different builders would have come together very poorly, but it's also
Like
handled well.
best stuff in this park is near Magnetite, of course. Like a just iterated the plane bridge, and
Hmm.
just the heavy amounts of layering there. It just felt refreshing compared to a lot of the other stuff in the park.
Very old school RCT, head-to-head RCT, I guess. Reminds
I won't say it's old school. It's certainly improved from like Head 5, but I'll say this is something I could have seen out of Head 6 for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So best water ride.
That's best
Easy
water ride.
Rapids. And then
We're on to Erlenbens Park Ralbritter. They won best non-coaster ride with their mountain bikes.
and this park was built by Belgian guy, RWE and
Oh, Walto.
uh,
Walto.
let's see, where is it? This is obviously a German theme
Yeah,
park.
it's German. It's I think it's Bavarian or something. But
Very so as non-coaster attraction, which really took up like the entire.
okay, the entrance is my favorite part of this, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I really like the entrance.
Because if you turn around and look right before the train bridge in the entrance, just the way all of that is layered and then seeing the train that goes right above everything else is just so cool.
I think it's really cool because you can go up these stairs and you see like the boomerang, and then behind it you can see
Yeah.
the bikes, which I think is really cool.
This is definitely like I can tell this is really authentic compared to a lot compared to how this theme has been done before. I feel like this is definitely maybe the best execution of this
Yeah.
theme ever in RCT because even shit like Pacific Coaster's Schwarzwald in 2011, it felt really sterile compared to this.
Hmm.
This feels
I think
a lot more real, I guess.
the foliage in this park is very good, which really enhances the mountain bikes, which are over here on this side that goes a bit more tame, and there's the other side which is much more intense layout. Or actually has a jump on it. Let me see if I can find the train. I think it's right here. Yeah. It's a very cool idea using the steeplechase. Lots of attention to detail, I guess, and making sure that this all looked right. Very nice.
Yeah. I'm surprised this wasn't done before actually.
Hmm. Yeah, again, lots of good foliage here and some cool ideas. Um, Architecture was good, not great. Kind of
I would
standard European
I would
architecture.
I would say that it's fantastic. It like I feel like if Legacies was done today, I think it would feel a lot more like this than how flat it was done back in 2010.
Yeah, this is definitely standard European architecture with these gable roofs and then the flat facades with lots of windows. So yeah, definitely cool ride, done very well, unique, lots of cool landscaping as well.
I'm a sucker for dark orange roofs. I love them basically in any theme.
Okay, let's look at the next park.
The next park is going to be hashtag Diamond Heights, which won best attraction design and also won
Didn't it
best
win best?
RC, and it also won best RCT2 park.
Hmm.
And that's it. Those so this is also the best RCT2 park.
Um, I think we're gonna have a little bit longer conversation about best RCT2 park a little bit later, but so this is kind of a reimagining of the famous, I
The
guess,
RCT1 scenario, yep.
RCT1
Um,
scenario featured on the opening menu of the
just
game.
to reply to Liam, which said that it didn't feel like that Browbritter didn't feel like a realism park. I'll agree with him that some of the shit in there really isn't realistic, but at the same time, it was really done that really executed well.
Yeah, I think it's again like a many of these head-to-head parks, kind of like a hybrid where a lot of things are realistic, but it's
But
not.
but the
It's
concept, yeah, the concept trumps out what would have been realistic. To me, the first thing I felt whenever I opened this park was Steve.
yeah, this park is built
I didn't think Liam was even a part of this park. I just thought Steve the entire way through.
instantly.
That's a,
When I saw the concept for the park, I instantly knew it was a Liam park because it's a very concept-heavy and unique idea. Um,
uh, I could see Liam doing concept heavy stuff. It's just not this. It's the style of architecture mainly.
yeah, I think that's one of the things that really stands out in this park is the architecture. I mean, it's almost like these fantasized realistic buildings like you have here, and then there's some great stuff over here. It's also kind of like a hipster theme. So you have
Yeah. Well, yeah, with the filter and everything. You have Starbucks.
yeah, Starbucks, stuff like that. I just think that I is how
Yeah.
it all feels full and finished. Like you have all these bridges that are very nicely done, um, like little waterfalls. Every little area has detail and effort put into it. I mean, these stalls are great. I mean, you have the maze hack for the stage, um, the custom made huts to resemble the RCTLL ones.
Oh yeah. Just to reply to Liam again. A big problem with a lot of head-to-head parks um, is that the players don't really mesh together, and they don't really like make a cohesive or coherent park in the end, which is something I feel happened with stuff like Arcanus Mineralis, where in cities and Outer Solid really do not have any similar style to Avenine. And but in this park, I think Liam did a fantastic job meshing with Steve and making it where it felt 100% Steve. through and through.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna open up this park actually without the filter. So we can look at it.
Does it look any different? Like, I thought that the filter was just slightly different in this.
It's definitely I don't know what you would call it. I'm not a very
It's weird because like I almost prefer the coloring with the filter. Like, I want to open up Starpoint with this filter.
Yeah. I think that's something that's going to become much more popular in the future with RCT is these filters to kind of give it a more realistic feel or kind of edit some of these colors so you can get them the way you want. But
Yeah, this park definitely looks better with the filter. I have to say that. It still looks good with without it, but
definitely this is one of the top parks of the season. I would say it's so full of content. The layouts were great. The sports are very well done. And you have a little bit of everything. You have the parking lot with the bike rentals. You have the train with the cool entrance. A little bit of everything. Personally, I don't really get a super nostalgic feel out of this. I mean, it's different enough.
yeah, I'll say that a lot of the votes on this, and a lot of the vote on this was definitely from the nostalgia. But again, like you, I didn't really care for nostalgia. But at the same time, this was still fantastically executed.
Yeah, I think that's the strong points that it's able to stand up on its own
without any gimmicks. Even though it did have gimmicks, it didn't rely on them. All right, turn the camera again. Okay, stay right there and go up a little bit. Is that a mustache? Is that a mustache man on the side of the wall in the red building? Okay, that camera angle. Okay. It's go up.
I believe that
right there, right at the corner, right there. The top left corner.
Of course, you have to have a.
Yeah.
But yeah, so personally, this is not my.
It's not my favorite, but I can tell go to RCT when I see it.
I think this is definitely. I would say this is probably my top 5.
Yeah, it's probably like it's in my top 10. I don't know about my top 5, but it's close. It's good. A lot of stuff this season was very good. In terms of being consistent and quality and everything.
Yeah.
Which, even though you didn't have any standout shit like you had in Headed 5 or Headed 6, I would say that this season was almost better because of even the last place teams put out some great ass work.
Mm-hmm. I would almost say this is probably my favorite of Liam's RCT2 work. If not my favorite, probably the top 3 for me. So
I prefer Tenechalon, but yeah, this is still strong.
Okay, now we have to go to Best Architecture, which is a part that both me and Zach actually worked on.
Okay, best me. All right. How do I describe me? I feel like Donald Trump right now.
Okay, so Paradise Pier, which is actually not a strict recreation, but a heavily inspired reimagining recreation of Disney's California Adventure. The Paradise Pier is a section of that.
All right. Basically, the architecture was split between me and Pac. If you look, from the angle of angle looking directly at the Ferris wheel, the side with the station with Cali Screaming Station, that's Pac's side, and then the side with everything else is my side.
Yeah.
So in this so Pac built the Cali Screaming Station. He built Ariel's Grotto except for the front sign, which I built. He built Midway Mania, and he built some of the arcades. We roughly did half and half on that.
Yeah, I believe he did most of the buildings that
Yeah.
you kind of went back and touched.
Yeah, that's Ariel's Grotto.
And
I did
then
the purple dildo thing on it.
I think Pacific Coaster did most of the ride design. And then Randy, RCT2 Day, did the supports
Yeah.
for the
I did a killer job with supports.
which I think were immaculate. They might have been slightly too dense.
Yeah, I don't think it was really too dense.
I think it turned out very well. I was kind of worried.
Maybe the Ferris wheel was a little bit too forced.
Yeah, I would say the
That's
Ferris
it.
was to pull off this park. I think we kind of wish we would have done a different color because it's the only black thing. But Pacific Coaster wanted to stay close to the actual source material.
Yeah, we did. All right.
I'm just gonna say my work in the park. I did a little bit of detail work.
Basically fixing my white glitches.
Fixing glitches. I did some of these. I don't know what you call them, boosts or roofs here. A lot of the road line objects.
Mm-hmm,
I did. And I did some of the cleanup work on the last couple days. Placing a lot of these lamps and benches and stuff like that. I think this was definitely a group effort by most of the team. I mean, you have a lot of Kumba designed objects. I think that stuff, jumping jellyfish, and then you have a design logo, Paradise Pier, which I think is the coolest thing here. Despite how much trouble it took, it turned out really well. I think it was worth it. Yeah, I think best architecture. I think this was definitely technically, in terms of technical skill and execution, this is probably
definitely.
Definitely number one, number two for me.
All right. On the other
side, I would say is number three.
The other side of the park, I did the Zephyr flat ride, the jumping jellyfish. Besides for the objects themselves, pizza and pasta, the garden grill right next to it, the air traffic control tower right in front of Goofy Sky School. The manor, and then the row of San Francisco buildings right next to it.
Definitely the highlight for this park for me is the pizza pasta, which I wish I would have, so I kind of went back and edited some of this. I wish I would have finished these little objects on the accents here. I put those in, but I definitely think these things in the front turn out really well. Area, in the park right here.
All right. Yeah, definitely. The best architecture I did on this map was pizza and pasta, and the manor, because I think at the very least, pizza and pasta was the cleanest shit I did in the park by far, and the manor. I had a blast working on that with Pac, and getting everything done with that. Even though the foliage was probably too much in front of it.
Yeah, that was definitely a last minute thing that we was the foliage. Then personally, I think this is probably the second best coaster, even though it wasn't nominated for either award of the season. Was this just because of all the work that went into and how it was framed in the park and the interaction and typing recreation is still, I think, stands on its own. Although a lot of people complained that it didn't seem realistic with all the straight track, but I mean, as close as you can get.
Which I mean, it really does have the most straight track in real life. Cali Screamin' is one of the largest coasters made. I think it's like third largest. I want to say it's the third longest. Steel Dragon 2000, and then another one. It's longer than Millennium Force even. So, yeah.
Okay. Next, we have best landscaping and foliage, which
is Pride Lands. Which Pride Lands also won second on pretty much everything else.
Yeah, this was my.
That was the ultimate hashtag fucking in, but for sure.
This is my pick for best park.
I believe it was my best pick as well. Let me see. My best. Yeah, it was mine. It was mine as well.
This is made by Nin Kyle, which he might show up later, hopefully. Randy RCT2 today, and then 13, who's a replacement. Yeah, this is a park that's definitely very landscaping and foliage heavy. So it's a jungle setting, and in addition to that, you have, the Pride Rock, which was just turned out perfectly.
Yeah, for a long time we were trying to get them correct objects for Pride Rock and everything,
Yeah.
and Kuma hooked us up, and it came out great.
Personally, my favorite area was the area by Stampede, which turned out really, really well.
Yeah, Stampede on itself probably wasn't. It wasn't the greatest layout ever, but the way it interacted with everything else, it turned out really great.
It turned out very well. I think it's definitely the best of the coasters in the park.
Something that Kyle can pride himself on is the fact that he didn't go over detailed with this.
Yeah, this is kind of a very different park from a lot of the things built, and that's very macro and not very focused on little tiny details.
I'm not going to say that it's not full of details or even that it's really that macro. It's just that he balanced it out well.
Yeah, it's a good balance. I think the focus here isn't the architecture. Like a lot of parks, the focus is often architecture. Or this, I think it's more the overall theme and atmosphere and kind of cohesion. Because a lot of these buildings are similar, but they still look all good. So
yeah. There is a hidden Mickey in this park, if you do not know about it.
Hidden Mickeys. I don't know.
Which is right in front of, right there.
Yeah. There's one right here. And there's a bunch of other ones as well. So if you want to download the park, and there's also a soundtrack, this park, which is great and really adds to it. Which
kudos to Kyle for doing not only this soundtrack but the Star Wars soundtrack as well.
Yeah, which we'll talk about that park later.
Yeah. I don't think Star Wars won an award though. I don't want to say it did.
About it for sure.
Yeah.
I think we're going to talk about all the nominations for Best Park if we haven't talked about them previously. But yeah, definitely this is probably the top park for me this season just because it's laid out very well and it just there's something about it that's very unique and doesn't really.
Yeah, it's something that stands on its own merit rather than tries to emulate styles like Pacific Coasters or something like that, which I honestly did a lot of in Paradise Pier, which I kind of needed to, but at the same time, what's weird is that Justin was trying to emulate me and I was trying to emulate Justin. So it worked out there because we were both trying to like mesh into each other's shit, but a lot of times it doesn't. Something that I think the thing that really made this park unique was the fact that of Kyle using landscaping to fence off and border off areas, and then using foliage on top of that to make it seem a lot thicker and a lot bigger than what it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Because without that, it wouldn't have felt nearly as good, really.
Yeah, I think this is also the highest scoring park of this season. I believe it's scored an 85 exactly.
Yeah. And it's the second highest scoring thing of H2H7.
Raptor was the highest. I believe it was an 80.
Raptor was an 89.
89, yeah.
Yes, and 89.5 or something like that. But yeah, well deserved park maker, elite park maker spot for Kyle.
Best Atmosphere was also won by Diamond Heights.
Yes, which we've already covered. Let's see.
Most Original Park.
This original park is Asteroid Fields.
Fields, which was the finals for Heaven's Atlas, which ended up winning the competition.
It ended up winning the contest, yes.
Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of this park, but I can see why it was so highly praised.
And personally, I am. So we have a good balance of opinion here. Something that I felt about this park right away is it just simply did not give a shit about, standard RCT conventions like fantastic architecture or something. It was just like, hey, let's just make a kind of tacky amusement park in space, and let's just do as many creative ideas as possible to execute that.
Yeah, I think there's lots of cool ideas. The fun factor gauge, which was quite hilarious. You have this portal. You have the flying saucer go-karts. I think you have a space train somewhere. And you have the working telescope, which actually won best idea, which is very cool.
Wait, there's a warp portal? Wait,
yeah, there's a warp portal.
I didn't know that existed.
Of the walls of the telescope actually beams you over to this area over here,
which is Earth.
Supposed to be like Earth. The telescope's looking back at Earth. It's pretty cool. And originally, this was very confusing to me, but
yeah, once we showed, I remember like gasping for shit, and I was thinking that at first it was an Easter egg.
Some of the cool things in this park had like the diagonal launch free fall, kind of like that the side pass because it's a asteroid, so gravity's kind of.
Like my fondest memory of this is whenever I was going over it with Kyle after I looked at it, and it was Kyle's second time looking at it, and he just thought it was just that's just it was like nice telescope, and then I was like, all right, click the train on it. And watching his expression.
Mm-hmm. I think the strongest parts of this park were definitely the
rides.
Well, I would say how they had the path sides of these asteroids. I think it's pretty cool how they did that, and not just make it flat. Like it's very. You don't really know which higher, what's lower. There's kind of it feels like a space. There's nothing. There's no reference. Everything's kind of just there. Personally, I wasn't really a fan of any of these rides, honestly. But I can see. I think the best ride was probably this coaster, Morse. Just because it's probably the most realistic and most normal. I think this was really well done. The layout and the colors were good, but
is that the Intamin or the invert?
The Intamin.
Okay.
Rider. You get the sideways Ferris wheel, which is really cool. What else do you have?
I mean, honestly, I'm going to tell you this, is that I probably wouldn't vote this higher than, say, Paradise Pier because of the fact that Paradise Pier is probably executed better, but I honestly like this better.
I think this is more risky.
It's definitely more risky, but I felt like it paid off. And I think that part of the purpose with head-to-head is to do risky shit, honestly. So, like, just grow some balls and do some cool-ass concepts rather than do a recreation, which, I mean, the recreation's fantastic, but, I mean...
Yeah, I think recreations, I think they're risky as well because you have to do them...
You have to do them perfectly, but the thing is that even if you do them perfectly, it's still kind of safe because it's just... The only thing they can say is that's executed well. They can't say that... I don't know.
I think what makes a recreation special is bringing new and cool ideas to the park, which I think Paradise Pier sort of lacked in the the innovation and the cool ideas and making it
Definitely.
probably because of more time, because we probably focused too much time on the coaster and architecture, which I guess
Yeah, basically, like with Paradise Pier, we were just too concerned with architecture, I feel, to make. But again, there's only so far you can go with that concept, which is why I would like to see people actually stay away from Disney and stay away from chain parks whenever they're dealing with head-to-head.
yeah.
It's cool. It's cool to do realism, but you want to have a concept even behind that.
Gosh, this octopus thing is it's weird, but
Yeah, that was probably my least favorite part of the park. Was the octopus thing.
the octopus thing. I don't know what. I guess it's Star Wars. I guess it's holding this spaceship thing. Anyways, so moving on. We talked about best idea already. Best LL park. Actually, we're gonna skip the LL things until a little bit later.
Yeah.
Let's see. Best match.
Best
was won by-
atmosphere. All right, no, best atmosphere, which okay, we did that. Sorry, original park, best idea. LL park. We already did best RCC2 park. We did best chemistry, best match. We've already did both those, and now on to the best award ever, which is Rookie of the Year.
Which was won by Shotguns with in the manual, Captain of Manual Labors in second, and Stosky
in third.
The
So all I can say is whip up PoE and whip up Star Wars. We're gonna talk about this shit.
okay, yeah, Star Wars. Actually, how about let's look at PoE first.
Yeah, look at PoE first because this is my shooting sport.
PoE was week 1 solo by Shotguns.
Yeah, I basically did not sleep for 5 weeks. Like, I went to school, I slept at school, and then I came back and played RCT. And then that's the fruit of my labor.
I believe that this is the only pure solo ever for a week 1 park and head-to-head.
It's the only solo ever for week 1.
So, very impressive.
Yeah. And the fact that I finished it.
This probably has some of the most content of any of the parks.
I wouldn't say content, I would say detail.
Yeah, detail.
Detail. This is 104,000 objects compared to, which is the same amount that Circus Circus did, but Circus Circus also had a gigantic freaking dome over it. So,
I think the main problem with this park is some of its unfinishedness, and then some of the odd peep features. Which
the problem with this, and I feel like I could talk about this now, because now that everything's gone and everything, is that a lot of some of the ideas I'd stayed in the longest were the ones that ended up being critically received well. And it's the ones that I almost forced in, like the Rapids ride was never supposed to be there. That was actually supposed to be an extension of the hotel. But then I got like an idea that was like, I can't just have one ride in the park, and because it's head to head. Even though Raptor did do that. But yeah, and a lot of the thing is just like, this is a big step for me learning how to prioritize and learning what is more important in the end. So even though I lost, it definitely taught me a lot of shit.
Yeah, I think
about park making.
That obviously with hindsight, you can change a lot of things, but I think that this was a learning experience for a lot of head-to-head to kind of prioritize the workload and not really put too much on one player, which I think we did a much better job of later in the season.
Yeah, I was definitely stressed out after this, I could tell you that. Because 5 weeks of doing nothing but playing RCT definitely weighs on your mind.
I think this part has some sloppiness. Like some of these rides don't work. And there's some objects missing.
Yeah, you know how you fix the freaking you know how to fix the rotor drop? I know how to now, but I mean, before I didn't know. I just had to rebuild it again.
Yeah.
Shit.
I don't know why it was such a difficult thing to fix, but
Another thing with this is that originally the Hurricanes were intending on literally building Islands of Adventure. We basically each round was going to be a part of the park, and that's a lot of the reason why this was port of entry.
yeah, it was supposed to be beginning
And
of the
then,
season entry to the head-to-head, and it was supposed to be we were planned on finalizing it in Paradise Pier, which having a fireworks show to kind of close off the park.
Yeah. For example, week 3 was supposed to be
City Walk.
No, that was week 4. Week 3, I was supposed to be on week 3 of Pack, and we were gonna build the ancient civilization part of IOA.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what that is on the top of my head.
The eventual week 3 part, but
yeah, and then the only park that was supposed to deviate was supposed to be Pride Lands.
Yeah, of course. But
our finals was gonna be Marvel Island, and Kumba already had a Hulk recreation and everything for that, and we just ended up not doing that. And this ended up just looking like a really dumb kid, not knowing what the hell he was doing afterward.
Okay, let's move on to Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah, definitely.
It's the 3rd highest rated park of the season.
It's the same rate as Paradise Pier and the same rate as Diamond Heights.
Okay. This was another.
The parks that were rated above that were Bermuda, Tenochtitlan, Pride Lands, and Raptor. So it was tied for 5th.
Okay. Park was originally supposed to be week 4, but ended up getting moved back to week 5, which is why.
The main reason why this was moved back to week 5 was, first of all, I was burnt out, and then Kyle was just being really wishy-washy about what he wanted to do for week 5. So we just ended up not even doing week 5 and making this week 5. That way we had more time for this. And it worked out in the end because Tatooine was a lot better finished.
Yeah, this park
this park sucked at week 4. It sucked at week 4.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think it was a very good decision.
Yeah, it was. If you know, that's something you really never want to do in head-to-head is to have to sacrifice around. It's just, I don't know.
It ended up not really making a difference in the contest, so.
It ended up not making a difference, but. All right, so going to say what everyone did in this park. X Coaster, he, if I remember right, did a few details here and there. He did the Yavin Coaster. He did the Death Star. The Millennium Falcon and the AT-AT. Kuma, I did everything else in Hoth besides that. Most of the architecture in Tatooine was mine. And most of the architecture in Coruscant was actually no, all the architecture in Coruscant was mine. Kuba did everything else. That's just the easiest way to say that.
Yeah, this was.
Hoth was definitely like the best thing I've done in this park.
Yeah, some of the little things in Hoth were very. The queue was very cool.
Yeah, that basically all the finished stuff, all the final stuff I did in this park was done within the last week.
Yeah, this is definitely some of a rushed.
This was clutch.
I believe this was started after week 1 had ended.
And yeah, it started a week after week 1. Actually, no, 2 weeks after week 1 ended. So it started whenever week 2 was almost finished.
So yeah, this park was basically built in seven
Like
weeks.
6 or 7 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, this is probably my second or third favorite park of the year because of all the little things. I think Kumba has a style that is unique and a lot of people don't have anymore. Like his ability to make all these open areas look very cool and ability to engineer peaks.
A lot of my goal with this was to try to make the stuff I made look like X Coaster made it.
Yeah, I think this park definitely is somewhat of a throwback to old school head-to-head parks. Kind of a less of a focus on architecture and more a focus on interaction, little tiny ideas and cool things, not necessarily making it the most realistic as possible, which I think turned out very well.
I mean, that's kind of Kuma's style, is to take like a theme park idea and then like put his head into a vat of chlorine and then make something.
Mm-hmm. I think this park really gets enhanced when you use a custom music, especially in the entrance area. So I definitely would suggest the park.
Definitely use the custom music for this.
Listening to it with custom music, it's very cool. So let's move on.
Let's move on to best replacement, which okay,
Best replacement.
We just did that.
Coaster.
I'm gonna go to let's do GeForce's favorite award. Whip out to Nostalon. We're talking about Liam.
Okay.
Liam Pye. I don't know how to fucking say his name. He's Dutch. Who matters? He was the Heaven's Atlas captain and the Heaven's Kitchens captain of Head-to-Head 6. And he won Most Valuable Player of Head-to-Head 7 this year. And we're just going to go through and show you the other RCT2 park he made. He made Diamond Heights before this. So he made this, I believe, with Tulsamir, which I'm salty about Tulsamir because he beat me twice, that dick. But I can't really control fate, can I?
Yeah, personally, I don't know if it's me, but there's something I guess I just don't get this park because
I love this park. I love this park.
If it's top tier material,
I believe it is. The thing is that I think it was. I don't give a shit that much about architecture.
Yeah, I think
like, the architecture is very wall based, which isn't a bad thing because it works here. And the thing is, because it's wall based, it was able to use a lot better textures, I feel, than had it been otherwise. And I feel like just the general idea of this park wasn't about the architecture. It was about a lot of the ideas, just like every other's Heaven Atlas Park was.
Yeah,
pretty much. Those were the ideas.
My biggest issue with this park was that the main centerpiece was ugly.
I don't know if you could. I think it's ugly, but it's purposely ugly because that's how it looks in real life. Like an Aztec temple, that's how it would look in real life.
I think they look a little bit more aesthetically appealing in real life to me, but I think it's made up by the very cool market just below. I think that's probably the strongest portion of the park to me, the interaction with the coaster. Actually, it's very similar to an area that Liam did in an LL park, which was cool.
Most of my favorite stuff in this park was just little details like the vomit near the top spin, because the top spin I think was supposed to be called the plague or some shit like that. The marketplace was fantastic. Seeing the people build part of the temple.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest one of them is the top of the tower with the symbol of the eagle on top of a cactus eating a snake, which is of course part of the myth with part of the Aztec myth with Tenochtitlan, which is
City.
pretty much Mexico City today. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing with this park for a lot of people is the boats.
Yeah, the Tulsimir did a fantastic job on those boats.
Tulsimir, which are probably the two best boats in an RCT park. At least at this style. Very cool. Very well done. Lots of, I mean, for a week one park, this is very impressive with the amount of details and little things that go into this.
Oh, definitely.
Especially with the launcher and all these little huts and just little tiny things in the park, I think really add to the atmosphere and make it feel like it's very well themed. Yeah, and I guess this has like a Age of Empires.
Yeah, it is kind of like the same thing with the Siege of Jerusalem from H2H7, where it's trying to do some Age of Empires shit.
Personally, I've never played Age of Empires, so I don't really get the.
I don't think it was supposed to be like a nostalgic thing towards Age of Empires. It's just the way it felt.
Yeah, I think that the references in this are much stronger than in Siege of Jerusalem, but the colors especially in this.
Yeah, I almost prefer this to Siege. It was just the fact that Siege's details and the fact it was LL. But I felt like this definitely deserved winning that round, and it deserved actually probably deserved more the accolade vote it got, which I think it only got an 81, which to me this is way better than this looks a lot better to me than Bermuda did. Honestly.
Yeah, I think this is maybe more aesthetically pleasing than Bermuda. I think they're probably both around the same level.
I just thought Bermuda was safe compared to this.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if World's Fair was done, World's Fair would have won. Honestly.
Yeah, well.
But, I mean, you can't really take that back now. Head-to-head's over.
And I don't know if we have any more park awards.
No, all the other awards are team. Most likable team and all that kind of bullshit, which there's really no sense to go over.
Yeah, I don't know if we're really going to go over that.
If you want to open up LL and show the Wild West,
actually,
do anything else.
I'm going to take about a 30-second break while I open up LL.
Yeah.
And adjust the stream. So we'll be back. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about some of the LL parts of Head-to-Head.
We are going to be talking about, yeah. Hey guys, this is a public appeal to check out New Element, www.amydesigns.com. It's the best RCT2 site on the internet, honestly. And if you're interested in it, and it doesn't matter what skill level you are, but if you join it, we're gonna help you get your skill up and join the ranks of the elite part makers on the site. It is an RCT 1 and 2 based community of actively around 250 members. It's been going on for about 15 years now. So if you just wanted to check out our site and enjoy, our admins are GWiz, Liam, and GWiz, Liam, Posix, and Emmanuel and Lewis. So if you have any questions, contact them. You can easily find their contact information, and I'll see you on any. GeForce. Russell, are we going to be talking about Archipelago as well, considering you're getting LL out? Because I haven't looked at it in game.
Okay.
All right. Do you have LL open?
We are back. Let me just see who's still here.
We have Average Gamer TV, Yuksek, GVV, GGV, XCF, XFCSA, and myself. So I'm guessing, I don't know. Probably got some shit to do or something. But yeah, let's just finish the shit up.
Let's see. I guess let's talk about best LL park, and we'll look at. I guess we'll look at some of the other submissions as well for LL.
Yeah, we're gonna be looking at Archipelago today.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that a little bit later. So let's first start off the Wild West, which was made by Coco, Lewis,
and DJ.
Okay.
It was DJ?
Yeah. The MVP Bush placer. So yeah, this was.
This was made mainly by Coco. He in this park was definitely able to mix both standard LL building and codex into a relatively nice way and make a unique park and everything.
I believe Lewis did some of the helps with some of the hacks.
Yeah, basically this was nearly a Coco solo.
And Lewis helped with some of the architecture and landscaping. So I think the highlight of this park is probably the steel coaster, which, let me see.
Has a very interesting hack in the beginning.
Yeah, it's very cool. Called Gunpowder Canyon. It's probably one of the cooler little rides I've seen in a long time. I believe a similar hack was used on a different park in H2H7, Indiana Jones, which was a Week 2 park made by Italian Stallions and LL.
Yeah, and you use basically the same hack for this.
So, yeah, cars kind of separate and slide down.
And then meet up again, you know. I do not know if that's able to be done in RCT2 though.
I don't think it can be, because I don't know if I've ever seen somebody do it, but maybe I'm...
I think Levis might have done it before.
Maybe. I personally, I don't think I've seen it, so I don't know. But it's very cool layout. Well integrated with the surroundings and landscaping, well paced. Definitely some cool stuff.
It's definitely good use of the landscaping.
Yeah. One thing I want to highlight for sure is this train robbery scene, which they used frozen steeplechase to simulate a train robbery, which I think was very cool. And then we also have the wooden coaster, which encompasses the other side of the park. First one I'm the biggest fan of. I think the layout's kind of just random, but still it's very cool. Again, very cool.
Yeah.
This park also have lots of layers in different areas.
It's definitely intense layering. It's almost like Bermuda in terms of layering, which that's to be expected given that they're built by the same person.
And Cocoa definitely has a style of layering and integrating terrain and density to his parts. One of the things I was going to say with this, I think there's some very cool frozen staff scenes. Yeah, you have the Django, and you also have this down here. Some meta commentary right there.
Yeah.
And I believe there's one also.
I'd never seen that well before in the middle of the junction path before like that. And I didn't notice the dynamite either.
Yeah. LL.
LL.
Kind of a controversial topic, but I don't know if
It's not really controversial. This is GeForce being salty. It's just GeForce being salty, you guys.
Polarizing. Polarizing, I'll say that for sure. Which is understandable, but
LL's basically free at this point. You don't need to buy it.
yeah.
To get
If you don't have LL, then I don't know what to say. Let's see, what else do we have?
This reminds, just saying the Wild West reminds me of Musket. Whenever Musket actually gets finished, it reminds me a little bit of that.
I think from next we'll go to Area 52, which was made by the Rat Pack. Week 5. Excuse me. Personally, I think this park is very, very cool. I think it's kind of underrated, honestly.
The problem with a lot of Burmese parks is that they almost end up being just a collection of ideas rather than a park as a whole.
Yeah, I think his style of park making is very old school, where the priorities of the park making aren't the same. Like it's not about cohesion or even making it publishing. It's kind of like, oh, I have this cool idea. I'll put this here. I'll put that here.
Well, to be honest with you, old school LL is very cohesive, really. This is just the way Rumi plays, honestly. It's just, and if I feel like if Rumi wouldn't get out of that and like focus a little bit focus on more atmospheres and shit, like, and then add the ideas he has into it.
Yeah, I
think he would be almost as good as Coaster Ed.
Part of where this park struggles is kind of you don't really know what the central theme is. Like a Disney like space theme going on here with the sun and the planets, and then you have your LSD ride, and then you have the
LSD ride's hilarious.
Then you have the Floorless, and the flight school. A lot of weird rides.
Show LSD. Show LSD because it's the best part.
I think it's a result of LL weirdness and making.
It's the result of using trains. It's a result of using trains on track movement that it can't be used on, and it makes shit like that.
Yeah, which I think was very well used. I don't know if I've ever seen people do something like that before. Yeah, definitely some very cool stuff. Some cool sculptures and hacks. That's one thing Arumi always has in his LL parks is that he's uses the game in a way that a lot of people really don't have the ability to. With all these hacks, rides, and their creativity that other people don't really have. And then we can talk about a couple of other parks. One being Heaven's Atlas 7 Wonders of the World, which is made by Liam. They buy them in actually a very short time, on very short notice for week 5, which a match ended up winning.
Against an unfinished park.
At the 7 wonders of the ancient worlds, which are the pyramids, the lighthouse of Alexandria, the Parthenon, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the Colossus, the statue of Zeus, and then the Mausoleum of Halicarnassus. I think that's how it's pronounced. And I think one thing that I really like about all of Liam's LO work is that he kind of makes it like his path is always really nice. Like he has these planners that are very cool, and he uses cool flowers and landscaping, and kind of some stuff that a lot of LO builders usually stray against. Kind of a good mix of classic LL and some new ideas, especially like these little areas I think people don't really use in LO. Sculptures, just kind of like what this park's hinged on, aren't that great.
I love the idea of using sunken pyramids.
Some of these are a lot better. Like the pyramids one is very cool, and the Parthenon one was very cool. But some of them, obviously, this park was built in a very short time. I still think this is a very cool park. It's worth looking at. And I kind of wish people who built LL would be more like this. That's one of the things that I think Liam, for me, he's probably one of my favorite LL builders just of his unique style. And I think LL, he focuses less on trying to make a cool idea and more on trying to make a cool park, rather than just, cool idea, bang. Make a park around that and just kind of make it. Instead of this, he makes it look interesting. Yeah, so cool park.
Let's look at Archipelago now.
Hold on. Still have to look at Indiana Jones, which was a design made by Loopy,
Pokey, and Dirk Pitt.
Dirk Pitt, and LL, which always has some of the most dense foliage you'll ever see in an LL park. Also a very cool hack.
It sucks because this park is fantastic. Like,
I think it hurts it the most that there's no peeps, which I think a lot of times the standard now for LLs, you have to have peeps and have that park. I think that's just
like it really is so freaking good. It's just, it's sad that it went against Pride Lands, honestly.
The voting in this park was actually very close to Pride Lands. I think it was 1-9 or something. But yeah.
All right. I think our pal Justin Hahn is joining us and speaking on these parks. Former head-to-head 6 MVP and Rookie of the Year in the same year, by the way. This man's a legend and God among men.
To me, the best parts about this is the use of codecs to make these very cool buildings. The density of the foliage. Scenes in the underground areas are very cool. Some unique ideas that aren't really all that much. Very old school LL feel. At the same time, kind of the themes of temples and cities and stuff like that. There's also some very cool peeps that are staff, Nazi guards, and Trapped Indiana Jones. Stuff like little details that people didn't really notice, which is a shame, but you're gonna see people still focus on that stuff, even if they don't get the recognition they sometimes deserve. But so yeah, I think this is gonna conclude our head-to-head 7 awards look. Zach, are there any parks you want us to look at, or
Archipelago? Let's go Archipelago, which is
head-to-head parks. Any head-to-head parks you want to look at?
Oh no, that would be it.
Okay. So